Hi everyone, Tim, Alonso, Francis. We're here to review episode 3 of season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, Ouroboros, which to my understanding is a snake eating its own tail.
Correct.
That's correct.
Nice.
That symbolism is sort of lost on me for this episode.
I was going to ask, I mean, like you could apply that to the show in a lot of ways. I think the whole notion of humanity or you know, the planet's sort of death spiral, but I don't know exactly why this episode is.
Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll
All right,
spitball.
well, could be. You're right. We'll work
Is it
on it.
maybe because in order to evade the walkers, he had to become a walker in terms of
By smelling like one.
Smelling like, because we know that that's a trick that they use to get out of the situations. But I guess this is something that's new to the new cast of Fear the Walking Dead, and they just understood that.
Seems a little thin.
I don't think
for
that
the
would be-
definition of the
Yeah.
word, but I like where your head's at. So,
Sure.
in this episode, there's a confrontation between Madison and Strand about their destination.
Right.
Daniel clues her into the Mexico plan. We also have a landing party to go salvage the wreckage of the plane, which you've seen if you've watched the web series.
Oh, see, I was thinking that was all wreckage from the cruise ship that the lifeboat was from.
No,
that's where all that luggage came.
That is Fear the Walking Dead expanded universe, and in fact, the woman on the beach, Alex, is
She's one of the ones
main
from
characters of that little 20-minute web series.
That's pretty intelligent, because the web series I also felt it was like an advertisement for something, right? And it was a way of kind of drawing you into something that was separate from it. But I never.
I mean, if everybody was using Colgate, I missed.
I
was gonna say
don't know if it was some
Gatorade.
sort of. I mean, it would not surprise me. It's America. Come on.
But yeah, it was. I think it was about 16 1 to 2 minute webisodes.
Yeah.
Where we meet Alex and the young boy whose name I'm blanking on.
Yeah.
The burn victim in the
He's a
raft.
burn victim. Got
Yes.
it. Got it. And by the way, anyone else kind of hoping we seen sharks, or was it just me? Like when they were in the water, like and she was looking over and seeing the pool of blood coming up, I was just waiting for a great white to come up. Or is that me?
That would have been
It-
shocking.
I mean, there's a bunch of bodies in the water. Surely that'll attract something.
You got crabs.
Yeah, we
this
got crabs.
episode.
That was interesting. They're creating the.
You guys too have crabs?
Well, you know, we'll talk about that off camera. Here's the thing that I don't quite understand is such a big deal. This notion that Strand has a destination in mind.
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, or rather, why do Madison and company care? It's not like they have a destination in mind. They might as well go somewhere.
I guess it's not that he has a destination in mind, it's that he hasn't shared it yet.
Yeah.
He doesn't trust them enough to tell them what his plan was all along, or that he's, like, any amount of information that he's keeping from them is a sign of distrust.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's, again, this is not me bringing in The Walking Dead to it. This is me just understanding that if you are in this world at the moment, every single person they've seen has been in somewhat a worse scenario than them. So it almost seems like they're getting complacent. It's like, we need to be knowing exactly where we're going. Well, the places aren't fucking going to be standing when you go there. They're probably going to be overrun at this point. So the safest place you can be is where you're at the moment. So I understand that the boat can't go on forever and they need to stop off and get supplies. But me watching it as a matured watcher of the show on both sides, I'm like, you don't understand how good you've got it right now. You're floating, you're away from a lot of danger that you could run into unless they start walking on the bottom of the sea, like you were saying, and just come ashore and try and get them. You're doing pretty well. You should be thinking about where can we stop off to grab more supplies and maybe go about it that way. But again, it's not as easy, because you see, obviously, what's his name had to dig deep into the shit, quite literally, to get the boat going.
Yeah. Would you trust that water purifier any longer? That
I don't know.
desalination is not ideal after that.
Tasting a little.
This coffee tastes like shit.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the you don't know the well on Herschel's farm. That
When they had to
the
get it,
walker
they had to pull it out. I mean,
well, we don't use anymore.
And that's a good way that I feel like The Walking Dead as a whole, they explore that a lot more of the situation rather than just we're running for our lives. But everything that is almost industrial and mechanic does have problems because of this. Now, everything isn't working in the similar fashion as you expect it to be. So it does take a lot of, I think, a lot of team effort to understand that this is the best way to go forward. And one thing that I think will come back to haunt them is they're turning away far too many people without exploring what talents they may have. Because they're lucky enough to have an engineer who understands the system of the boat, but there's going to be people, they don't have any doctors on board at the moment. They're going to have to understand that is something you have to acquire as we know true well, you can't just turn away someone without understanding.
Right, but so far the people they've turned away have been mostly sort of sick children and or well children even. It's not like anybody's been coming running out with like a white lab coat, one of those reflector things on his head.
I'm
Wait,
a doctor.
stop, So
it's obvious Strand is not a fan of refugees.
Yeah. He's looking out for number one for sure.
I like how the show is kind of pushing us with the Madison and Travis family into this moral gray area because of Strand's extreme pragmatism. Yeah. So he won't take on anyone else. And he's not wrong. I mean, they have limited supplies. They have limited space. There's limited supplies and space where they're going. It's silly to take on, what he calls dead weight. Now, that's unassessed at any point. But it's pushing Madison and Travis into this area of cold, callous decisions that they're not exactly comfortable with, but find themselves to be, backing him.
Yeah, although obviously, I think they felt, they weren't crazy about the compromise of, well, we'll tow the boat to San Diego, but they were willing to go with it. And then when he just hacks it off, it's like, okay, so we're not even faking this now anymore. But you're right. He's not wrong. And I, maybe I'm a terrible person, but I'm going, I wouldn't take them either.
Yeah, but it's interesting you say that because we see one of the younger characters kind of evolve into that state of mind early. With Chris, is like he's seen a wounded victim who could have been helped. We don't know yet. I mean, I think his vertebrae was sticking out of his back at one point, so he's going to be the definition of dead weight to carry around. And he didn't look as if he enjoyed it. Like, we know he was enjoying the transition of dealing with the walkers, but then when it came to a live person, he struggled. But it showcased that for me at the moment, despite a lot of people not being as fond of him as a character, he seems to show a lot more of the qualities needed to survive in this world compared to other people.
And if he's understanding the notion of a mercy killing now, then maybe he'll give his father a break on the whole.
True, but there's a very, very small, there's a very distinct line there. Like, where did you go over the line from mercy killing to just killing to get ahead in this world? Like, killing to make sure that you remain the prominent factor within your group, because it seems that if those two who they ended up cutting away, that's something that I would imagine Chris would consider, because he seems to be working his mind in a way to understand that you have to look out for those first that you're closest to you and take whatever measures you need to deal with the situation. So his character's interesting to me.
Yeah, and I think he came through on the other side. When he walked out of the plane, he was calm and collected. He had already resigned himself to what he just did and gotten over it immediately.
Right.
So that's a really interesting character trajectory, that he's like this, what could be the badass of the group, as weird as it is to think about right now.
Well, Nick definitely gave himself some more badass points when he just came out of nowhere. I love that scene when he went face to face with a walker, when he was just like so close to him and he was looking at him and he was trying to give it back. That's because it's obviously something that we know, but it's something that they are understanding. It's good to be ahead of the game and be like, yes, you can do that. It's like someone who's got a secret weapon that they don't know they can use, so it's good to see them kind of understand it.
Yeah, but why do we celebrate Nick's stupid fearlessness and keep ragging on his sister's just stupid ignorance?
Because he gets results.
Right, way stupider than her, and he just lucks out every time.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's a Robert Kirkman trick, is to give you the kind of false sense of fear, where he's looking over the edge and we see the gruesome zombie with all the crabs in him, and you just know he's going to fall. Like, that's by this point, I'm not surprised by it, but it's all part of The Walking Dead. It's how they deal with these situations, and I think that's what he's trying to do, is he's trying to place the viewers in the mindset is, how would you deal with this? Like, if you were in this situation, would you be, you have every right to be vulnerable and to be surprised by anything that's thrown your way, or you can showcase some of the strengths that you wouldn't have in everyday life. Like, so Nick struggled dealing with everyday life before this. He was a drug abuser and he didn't understand his role. And it's very similar to Daryl in The Walking Dead, struggled with his role in outside of this group. And then he's one of the ones that's kind of became stronger in amongst The Walking Dead. And I see Nick's character falling that way. I think he's going to become stronger and stronger now that he realizes that everyone's just as fucked up as he is now. He's not separate being a drug abuser. He can now just kind of go forth and make a difference with what he's doing.
And I think he's discovered resources that he didn't know that he had and was never called upon to use before, And as maybe the one person on Earth who's watched this show and not watched The Walking Dead, the whole thing about, you can pass for a walker, that was an actual revelation for me, so,
I think it's a feeling of I don't know if I'm off base, it's a feeling that he maybe feels needed now. He feels like he has a purpose and he has a role, because he's constantly hurt his family before, whether it's his fault or not. He just didn't make the right decisions in life. So I feel like he feels like, okay, this world is going to shit, but I'm going to do what I can to help my family out. And maybe I'll be stupid along the way, but I'm going to try at least.
He's already put his skill of identifying drugs and pills to great use
Yes.
2 or 3 times now. So, I mean, he's really kind of
He's a walking PDR on this show.
It's very helpful.
Definitely. No, and I think also there's something about, it's almost like, I think under circumstances like this, like I don't even have the luxury to be a drug addict anymore. Like I have to, these are literal life and death stakes. And it turns out I'm actually pretty good at this. So I now have this sort of renewed sense of purpose in a way.
Yeah. What is our take on the deal with Christianity that seems to be coming on right now with our one of our main characters?
With the Salazars?
Yeah, so I'm thinking like, so one of them, or the father's throwing away his rosary beads, leaving them there, which is something that is always going to be pondered in this world. If you're a very religious person, why would this be happening? Why is this coming to fruition?
How could God let this happen?
And then his daughter, I think, is using it as a way to cling on to faith, because when he gives her the rosary beads, when Nick gives her the rosary beads, she accepts them and she sees it as a gift. So I'm interested how those two are going to go different ways amongst that.
It takes me back to the scene in last season where his wife is on her deathbed and she's speaking in Spanish, and only Chris's mother understands what she's saying. But even then, it doesn't seem like she's in her right mind, talking about how I've finally seen your true face about her husband, and you are the devil. You are the you may have pretended to be this good, wholesome person, but I know where you came from, and I've put it away for so long. So now Daniel has to sort of deal with that himself. Yeah. Has he ever been religious with the things that he does? Does he truly believe? If he does, what does that mean for himself and his immortal soul?
Yeah. And you've got the bloody bandage, which is such the Chekhov's gun on this show. Yes. It's like, all right, when's that going off?
That doesn't look so good. We should take it's fine. It's fine.
No, it's good. It's good.
Are you taking your meds? I'm out of them. You feel warm. At least we have Chris around. He'll take care of it.
That's true.
He'll put that in.
This is going to be the new Carl.
Oh,
no doubt.
Right, yes. So yeah, I mean, I like the notion of the whole at sea aspect. I find really fascinating. I don't know how long they're going to hang on to it, but the idea of, all right, yeah, if everything on land is going to shit, let's get on a boat. And it's not going to solve everything, but at least it's going to allow some distance. It's sort of a moving fortress in a way, like you constantly have a moat, basically.
It makes threat assessment and what can sneak up on you different than it was in The Walking Dead.
Sure.
And you weren't familiar with how tired all those tropes got. Sometimes these walkers are moaning and making all kinds of noises, and then other times they're right behind you and you didn't see it.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen on this show. It's different. So.
And that's the worst thing about being stuck in Kentucky when the world goes to shit. That's what happened in the Walking Dead. You can't get out of anywhere. Everywhere is just forest land. So take advantage if you're on the coast, because you can hit the sea, and we get to see more sea creatures finding their way in amongst walkers.
Find a shady rich guy with a yacht. That's step one.
Yes,
step
befriend one now, because you never know.
An ounce of prevention is
Totally.
a pound of cure in the zombie apocalypse. All right, join us next week when we see what happens on our constantly turmoiled, roiling relationships.
They're going to get to Mexico
yacht.
one of these days.
Or not.